I just would hate to be the guy driving the car and R.A. Dickey throw a wet piece of toilet paper
It was
at
hard.
my car 100 miles an hour.
I don't toot my own horn a lot, but
To
on
have the
West End
precision.
on a West End road with a car going 40 and I've got a wet toilet paper, I don't even know the weight of that in my hand, and I was able to lead the car where it went in the window and smacked. I could never forget it. It hit it right here, just like started going down, and then the brakes hit, and then I was off.
Level up. Hey, level up. Yeah, cause I'm getting louder. Hey, level up.
Welcome to The Turf, powered by D1. I'm Will Bartholomew, founder and CEO of D1, and I'm so excited to have R.A. Dickey with us today. We're going to be talking all things baseball, all things raising kids and training. And R.A.'s had a illustrious career, long time, man. 15 years of Major League Baseball, Cy Young Award winner, been through ups and downs, 6 different teams. And most importantly, fun fact, he's my brother-in-law, married my sister. And so I want you to go back 30 plus years ago to when you were in high school and go, what were you doing for training to become the player you became?
Well, I can tell you what I wasn't doing. I wasn't doing anything like this.
Yeah.
And I wish I would have been. But a lot of my high school career was just, my training was how many sports can I play?
Yeah.
Like we're living in a culture now where it's specialization and sport specific training and, you know, even down to the diet, down to the sleep, down to the whoop, down to the everything is tracked and the data is important, right? For me, it was just reps. Like that was my training. My training was how many times can I get down the mound? How many shots can I take in the gym? How many bombs can I throw to you or somebody else running down the sideline, right? So my training was not in a weight room per se, although I had coaches that were telling me to get in there. My training was on-field training. It was visual training. It was hand-eye coordination stuff. It was doing stuff that was specific to the sport I might have been in at that time. But in retrospect, I wish I would have had opportunities like this and with people that knew more about training and about the body and about all that to really pour into me in a way that would have probably, well, definitely made me better. I mean, I think I got the most out of what I did training wise, but I could have taken other steps, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you know, it's just because I got a front row seat at your career. You know, I remember when you were in high school, you know, throwing footballs into the basketball hoop at the end of at the end of the pool nonstop, and then you go to Tennessee, you play on a great team there, got around some strength and conditioning. What did you learn when you went from, you know, high school where you didn't have this and it was just volume versus going to Tennessee and playing?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, that was really my first exposure to anything real as weights were concerned. And it was much more linear.
Right.
Like everything was straight ahead, right? I was plowing through and more reps and more weight and more explosion, but it was all linear stuff.
Right.
Like we rarely train the things that are very important to me today and have prolonged my career, which were like range of motion, mobility, pliability, like all the stuff that I work today. Then it was just, I'm going to get as strong as I can possibly get. And I did. I went from throwing 88 to 90 miles an hour in high school, which was really good in high school, to throwing 95 in high school. And that was all the product of like lower half conditioning with weights, like squats. I'd never been on a squat rack. I'd never done lunges. I'd never done step ups. I'd never done any of that stuff. And I'd never been through a physical test, like broad jump or high jump. And they were testing everything.
Yeah.
And so that really showed me a lot of my deficiencies when it came to how much I could suck out of my body, right? Like, and that's all I wanted. I wanted to realize my fullest potential. And they helped me understand a little bit about what I needed to do. Now, you know, in that day and age, that was, golly, 1990, you know, 5, 6, and 7, 1994, 5, and 6. And so everybody was just concerned with how much mass can we put on and how much linear force can we produce. And I benefited from that.
Yeah.
But I did probably lose a little bit of, you know, mobility and in positions and things like that because I bulked up. But it did allow me to throw harder, which eventually allowed me to be drafted.
I think that's important though for all athletes to like build that foundational strength.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have that foundation, it's really hard, you know, to play for a long time and at least have the power and speed to compete at that high level. I mean, that's the one thing I remember about that Tennessee team. Y'all were beefed up, man.
Yeah.
Y'all were
And the Tennessee guys did a great job. I mean, we had, you know, the guy that was working with us was a football guy, right? It wasn't a baseball specific trained guy. It was a kind of a downstream from, you know, the head strength guy, Stuckey to us, and that was going to be a leftover football guy that worked with the baseball team.
Yeah.
So we benefited from that, and I sure did get a great foundational understanding of, okay, well, how is force applied, right? Like, how can I produce pressure? Like, you know, time under tension. Like, how can I get stronger?
Were there any crazy things in college you remember? I have a few from that weight room. You have
The weight room at UT was a madhouse, man, and we were lifted with, you know, I'd come in, I'd get my cup of creatine, I'd get my, you know, like, I'd never,
creatine.
oh my gosh, I'd never been exposed to anything like that, right? And it was of great benefit. But man, the weights that we were throwing up as a baseball team, like by the end of the fall, which was my my freshman year, I'd been through the program for about 4 months, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, I'm already 15 pounds heavier to 20 pounds heavier, leaner.
Yeah.
And so they did a great job, but it was all about, like, I mean, we were like, you know, shirts off, chains around our neck, like doing all kinds of stuff. We were acting crazy, but it had a purpose to it. And that was to build a foundational understanding of, like, this is strength.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, how do I get my strength into my craft? Like those are the next steps. Right.
So I'm gonna jump, kind of fast forward in the story. So, you know, look, you've had this up and down career, on or collateral. You got dropped in the draft. Like, if anybody's out there listening, he's got a New York Times bestseller book. Make sure you pick it up. It really goes into detail on all this stuff. I'd love to jump to the part of you had to transform. You were a gas guy, fastball pitcher, and then all of a sudden you had to transform to a knuckleballer. I'd love for you to talk about the training and mental reps that it took in there, and like how your mindset shifted from this, I'm going to call it a meathead mentality. I'm a proud meathead myself. Meathead mentality of you know, the Tennessee weight room change, lifting heavy weights. All of a sudden you're trying to do something a little bit more skillful.
Yeah.
That doesn't require power. It requires you to be like super dialed into feeling.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. I think, and I was a meathead too as a baseball player. Like, I just wanted to get down the slope of the mound as hard as I could and produce as much velocity as I could. And that's why I was drafted in the first round. Is I threw 95. I had a good slider and a good sinker, and, you know, but I threw pretty hard. And again, it was a product of all that linear work and that foundational strength. But the first 10 years of my career, you know, it was still in that transition in your, like, people understanding the body, the anatomy of the body and what produces what. And so we were still real linear. I mean, in the baseball world, weights were bad.
Yeah.
Right. You got to the pro game and it was like, hey, we don't want to hurt you. No shoulder impingements, you know, we want to be easy on the knees and all that. And I'll never forget, you know, coming in as a rookie with the Texas Rangers, and there was a guy in there named John Wetland. And John Wetland was an unbelievable pitcher, long major league career. But he had 575 pounds on the leg press. And I walked in on that like day 3, and I'm like, oh my word. Like, this is what elite guys are doing. They're building up their lower half, quads this big. Now, they didn't touch their upper half. Like, nobody worked on a bench or isolated dumbbell or isometric work. Like, nobody was touching a weight outside of like shoulder maintenance. Like, how can we prevent injury? Every lift that a baseball player professionally knew between the years 1997 and 2000, and I'm going to say 2005, okay, were all about injury prevention.
Right.
That was it.
Now,
your lower half, you could build to however big you wanted,
right,
but your upper half, it was all about, you know, the fine motor muscles,
right,
Job exercises, a lot of resistant work, a lot of stretching, stuff like that. But, you know, as I graduated from being a hard thrower to becoming a knuckleball pitcher. And a knuckleball pitcher, basically, just a quick synopsis is, you know, I don't rely on speed with a knuckleball. I rely on moxie and finesse and like knowing where my body is in space and getting to the position mechanically that can produce a good knuckleball. Like, those things are much more important at this point for me. And that was about 10 years into my career. So from 23 or 22 to 32, 33, I was a conventional pitcher with this, you know, meathead mentality. How can I get down the slope as hard as I can? And then I had to shift gears, as you pointed out, to, okay, now I've got to figure out how to feel my body in space better, right? And not only that, how can I get to these positions I know I need to get that I'm unable to get in now to be able to produce a ball that only spins a half of a revolution from the time it leaves my hand to the time it gets to the catcher's mitt. And that's really, really hard. And it demands, and it was great that I had my athletic development. It was a real blessing in the way that it came, because I did not rely on weights in high school, as we pointed out earlier. I was much more about playing ping pong and like hand-eye coordination and shooting basketball. And so like I had that already built, right? That was good. And a lot of guys that didn't have that would have trouble making adjustments to, like, how do I learn a different pitch? And how does like, do I pronate? Do I supinate? Like, do I do all those things to execute different pitches? Well, I was able to do that because of that early time.
Yeah.
Then, you know, I got into college, got stronger, got through harder, all that. So the marriage of those two helped me when I started developing knuckleball.
Right.
And so from ages 33 to when I retired at 43, which is another 10 years, it was all about this understanding around range of motion and pliability, and getting to these end ranges in my body from a flexibility standpoint, and making sure that I had great core strength, and like Pilates and yoga, and like all these things started to come into play it was an epiphany for me, because I'd never done anything like that, never heard of athletes that did anything like that. And we had some guys that were on the cutting edge at the very beginning of taking a lot of that data and applying it to our sport. And so I had this really cool marriage. Yes, I kept working out, and I kept, you know, I would come in here and throw, and with you and whoever would catch me, up until I was 40 years old. But I was also building in these mechanisms that allowed me to get my body in positions that they had never gotten in before, because that was what was instrumental for the success I had the last 10 years of my career.
It's awesome. I mean, I just remember that shift, and I remember that shift in mentality, and it was through a lot of different things, and it started translating so much. You know, that was when you won the Cy Young and you started pitching really well. You know, I think one of the things we want to make sure everybody knows is that no great athlete ever gets anywhere by themselves.
Oh yeah.
We all have these coaches and mentors along the way. And we really feel like D1 plays a huge role in that, you know, which is have a coach in someone's life to help motivate and inspire them, or give them a tool or whatever. I'd love to hear what coach helped make you transform that mindset along the way.
Well, you're right, man. I say it all the time when I talk. I talk about it in my book all the time. Like, you know, everybody that achieves anything in life is, you know, the product of a lot of people who have loved them well in some way, right?
Yeah.
They're the product of people who've poured into them, and you get to overflow out of all that wisdom and stuff. And for me, when I made the transition to becoming a knuckleball pitcher, you know, I didn't know anything about throwing a knuckleball other than I could throw one just playing catch with my catch partner, but to throw it to major league hitters at the big league level and get outs consistently, you know, it was like, how do I do that? And so I was pretty naked going into the journey of becoming a knuckleballer after throwing 10 years as a conventional pitcher. So the first guy that I had was a guy named Charlie Huff, who was a longtime knuckleballer for the Texas Rangers, won over, 150, 200 games in the major leagues. He's one of the guys, and he changed my grip, and he poured into me. I flew out to California and worked with him for 2 weeks, 2 different times, and that was a real change for me and a blessing. And then from there, I went to Tim Wakefield. And so Tim Wakefield, who was a longtime Boston Red Sox guy, a lot of people will remember his name because it's more recent. He was the only knuckleballer in the major leagues at the time before I got there.
Right.
And so here's how special that bond is I was in the clubhouse of the Seattle Mariners big league club, and we were playing the Red Sox. He knew that I was on this journey. I'd just begun it. I was good enough to get up there, but I wasn't good enough to stay. Right. I was always going up and down, AAA big leagues, grind. And he knew that I was in the big leagues at that time with the Mariners, and he sent over his clubhouse guy to my clubhouse and invited me to come watch his bullpen. So imagine an adversary trying to beat me, inviting me into a space where I would be gathering information that could actually beat his team.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the kind of it's just special. And so he poured into me in a real neat way, and he came after Charlie Huff. But if I wouldn't have been able to grasp what Charlie Huff taught me, I wouldn't have understood what Tim taught me.
Yeah.
And then so from Tim Wakefield to the icon, Phil Niekro. And so Phil Niekro's a longtime Hall of Famer, won 300 games in the major leagues, unbelievable guy. I got with him lastly. And so I had these 3 guys on my speed dial, like basically the Jedi Council of knuckleballers, right? And they were all like just dumping information into me so selflessly. I would even have a bad game and I could shoot them video and say, hey man, what are you seeing? Like, what am I doing here? They'd shoot me back text. It'd be 2 in the morning, like, cause I was grinding over a loss and I couldn't sleep. And I'd send out something to Tim and he'd say, oh, well, you got to keep your hand behind your chin, or you got to, like he would see things that no other coaches could, because throwing a knuckleball is so rare.
Yeah, it's a rare.
Right. And so there's only a few people that walk a mile in your shoes in that craft. And those are something. So when I won the Cy Young, it wasn't a win for just me. I stood up there at that podium and said, hey man, this is a win for every knuckleballer that's ever stepped on the earth. It's hard. And I'm so thankful for these men who helped me achieve it. So that's my story about Mentor. If it weren't for those men, yeah, we wouldn't be talking about Cy Youngs. I might not even be here on the turf, because my career would have probably fizzled.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, look, we all have those people in our life that have poured into us, that you couldn't have gotten to where you got to if they hadn't. I also know of some other people that were in your life. And I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to training real quick, because you had a couple coaches that I saw a big shift in you in the pros. Just how you took care of your body. You talked about yoga, Pilates, and all the other different things. I'd love for you to just kind of speak to, who taught you what, and then how it kind of shifted your brain and how it impacted. Because I just think there are a lot of people out there right now that are searching for answers, how to get to the next level. And it's like, man, I just feel like if you find the right person, sometimes it unleashes something.
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize too that there's no cookie cutter way to do it, right? Like it's most of the time it's a combination of a lot of different things that pull out your fullest potential. And so, for me, there were a couple different guys from a training standpoint that really were helpful for me. But I think the most important that I like to kind of tell you about was a guy named Mark Friends.
Yeah.
So
the freak.
Yeah, the freak. Everybody called him the freak. He doesn't even know that his name is Mark Friends anymore, because everybody calls him the freak. But he was out of San Diego, but he was my coach in Minnesota when I was at the beginning of my knuckleball journey. And he kind of looked at the way I train, and he thought, hey man, for an older guy, man, you work really hard, but I think that you could do it differently and get more out of yourself. And he really challenged me, right? Like he really spoke into that space where I didn't know the difference. And so he started showing me these great movements that I could do, and I was real disciplined with doing them. And he would work out. Sometimes the role of a minor league strength coordinator is so tough, because anytime a guy wants to work out, you're working out with him. So he was 8 workouts deep all the time. Like, man, he was yoked and fit and all this, but he was always espousing these kind of combination sequence movements that were real helpful for me. And as I started to do them, I started to feel better. I started to get my body in the positions I needed to more easily without having to think about it on the mound. And Will, one of the things I think is so important is like how the marriage of, like for an athlete in particular, is this physical development, maturation to go alongside your mental, maturation. And so if I'm on the mound and I'm thinking about 4 different leverage points on my body, trying to deliver a pitch to a major league hitter who's trying to hit a home run, then I'm probably going to short circuit, or I'm certainly not going to execute what I need to do. So I had to build in this new muscle memory, and he was real important in that, because I trained with him nonstop. So when I got sent down from the Twins, which was the big league club, down to Rochester was the AAA club, I was thinking, crap, here we go again, man. Come on, God, what are you doing? Like, I'm in the big leagues, now I'm getting sitting down for the 15th time. Like, it's frustrating. And God had a plan in that, right? Like, Mark Friends was there, and he was the only one in that moment that could probably kind of penetrate to where I needed to hear it and get me to think differently. And so, I mean, after I kind of understood kind of some of these new patterns and how to train a little bit differently, it became a lifestyle for me. So it was something that I just didn't do on the side. Like, I did it religiously. I did it in my room. Off seasons, I'd come in here and do it.
I remember you wearing the banana suit.
Oh yeah.
Riding his bike about 20 miles away, riding your bike.
Yeah, man.
Throw football.
So I was heavy on bike, and I would come in here and do a bunch of movement patterns and try to get into my core more than I ever have. And slowly over time, I started to not have to think about my body getting into these positions I needed to. They would just automatically go.
Right.
And so that really freed me up. And any athlete that's worth a dang will tell you, like, playing with freedom is the best feeling ever. Like, that's kind of the zone, right? Like, when everybody says, you were in the zone, man. Well, you're just playing free. Right. And you don't have, your body, your body's, knows where to go instinctually. And, you know, it's the product of a lot of people who have taught you where to go, but you don't have to think about it anymore in the moment. And so that is what happened from Minnesota when I met him up until I retired. I mean, the best years of my career were reverse of most guys. One, because I learned a new pitch that was really effective and poured myself into that, but it was also because I learned more about my body in 2 years than I had the previous 30 about what makes me good.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what you need to know. What you need to know is like, hey, when I'm good, why am I good? Right. And so I was starting to understand that more and more. So from ages 33 to 43, when I was a knuckleballer, I started to hit my stride after Minnesota, which was about 35. So from 36, 35, 36 to 43, that's when I hammered it.
Yeah.
Like, and I still feel great. Like I could still pitch, I feel like.
If you could go back to yourself in high school, knowing all this now, what would you tell high school RA to be like, man, this is how you could get in the zone quicker, man, and stay in the zone for years?
I mean, that's a good, deep question. I don't think that I would have changed much because of the sequence in which it happened for me.
Sure.
Physically.
Sure.
But what I would go back and talk to like the younger RA about was the mental piece.
Yeah.
Like how to be disciplined in your work ethic, like how to show up every day with joy, like how to, you know, cultivate the craft of slowing the game down and work at that, and visualization, and like all the things that I felt made me really good late, mentally. Like I would work a bullpen before we would play the Dodgers, and I would go over every hitter in my mind that I was going to face 3 days later. I never did that kind of stuff in high school, right? Like I would go back and teach my younger self about preparation, about eating better, about the value of getting sleep, right? Like every good doctor that I've ever had says, hey man, you will rectify 95% of the things that are wrong with you by eating right, getting sleep, and exercising.
Yeah.
Those 3 things. Start there, right?
Yeah, start there.
And so I wish I would have kind of had some of those pillars in place mentally.
Yeah.
I think I could have been a lot better even in high school, but I don't know if I would have traded the joy I got to experience from the reps in every sport. Like now I look at my son and like, if he wants to play, he's going to have to specialize. It's just the way it is right now.
Right.
If he wants to play Major League Baseball, he's going to have to play travel ball. He's going to have to work on his velo. Everybody's throwing 95. Like he's got to figure out that piece. It was not the way for me. That was not the culture when you and I were growing up.
Right.
You could wrestle and play football and play basketball, and that was your training. Yeah. And I will say, I think we had more athletic people back then, like more complete athletes earlier.
Yeah.
Now they're not stronger. Right? They're not faster, but all the little things that came along with getting to play multiple sports all the time was really valuable for me in the moment. So to answer your question short, I would probably spend more time on the mental training than the physical training if I had to go back and tell myself over again.
Good. That's really good. So you talk about multiple sports. I remember you used to come in here every offseason and throw to our NFL combine guys. Our guys preparing for the NFL. You love playing quarterback.
I did.
You know, how did you see that benefit? You know, like obviously it's the off season for baseball.
Yeah.
And you would come here and throw football. Like why did you do that?
Oh man.
Outside of you thought you were the best quarterback.
That's right. I felt like I was better than the guy.
Tebow was in here one time.
Oh, they call me.
And you were like, why is Tebow throwing? I should be throwing.
Yeah, that's right. Like he was working on his mechanic. I'll never forget like going over the shoulder maintenance program with Tebow. He had never done one.
Yeah.
Because he was so linear. Right, like with how big and bulky he was, and I was trying to tell him like, hey man, let's go down here and let's go through one, and I took him through one cycle of these arm maintenance where he could barely finish. And you're talking about a 10-pound little weight, you know, and we would just do different movements and put him in different positions, and it was killing him. Like it's like, how do you see this every day? But this place, like this D1 in particular, not just because you're my brother-in-law, but it created such a great platform for me because one because it has everything that you need to get better. Like that, like you gotta start there, right? Like anything that you could possibly, like you're without excuse in here.
Yeah, there's no
right, like that, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But you also had this great culture here that was bent on motivation and like doing things the right way, and you know the discipline of showing up at 6 a.m. for these busted. Like I would do the classes,
Yeah.
Because they put you in those positions. Like when I was older, I would come here and do the HIIT classes with the trainers that would do the mass classes where we're running around doing multiple exercises, training isometrically, sprinting, like doing all this CrossFit stuff, because that was the cultivation for me of where I needed to go.
Right.
And I knew that about myself, going back to like knowing what makes you good. And this place offered that. And not only that, like it's good to be around other people who want the best out of themselves. And so it just motivated me to like do it better. And that's why like my career, I played 21 years professionally because of things like this.
Yeah.
Right. Like, cause I took advantage of things like this. And the other thing I would say is like, for any athlete out there, whether you're in high school or college, one of the things that I felt like this place helped me understand is, no one's got all the answers, right? Like, so be a lifelong learner, right? Like be teachable. I was learning things from some of these guys I'd never heard of. And so I would try it. And I adapted that into my routine, even when I was playing for the Mets 6 years later, because that movement, I'd never felt it or seen it, but it felt good and it helped me. And so just the ego that comes along with having to be a good athlete and knowing when you get on the field, nobody's going to beat you. Like, how do you take that ego kind of and set it over here so that you can really learn and be moldable and have an understanding of where you need to go? That was big about this place for me.
That's what I love about this place is D1 allows you the opportunity to go try some things and make some mistakes and fail in some exercises. And the reality is, even practice now, games and practice don't always give an athlete that.
Oh, that's true.
Because you got to be perfect.
Yeah.
Because coaches are watching. And so it's like, hey, come in here, train, make some mistakes, try some new things out, be around people that are all doing that.
Yeah.
And so it's like, this is just who we are. This is how you become better.
And that was the beauty of this place too. It's like, there was no shame in here.
Yeah, no shame.
Right? You came in here and you were sweaty and, or girls or boys, you're messing things up, you're dropping weights, you're making mistakes, and people would always be encouraging. It was just great. And the paradigm was really important here. Like, you always have a coach watching what you're doing. So, you're not getting outside from an injury standpoint of where you need to be. You get the most out of the exercise, right? Because somebody's right there in a real small group saying, okay, man, you might want to tuck your knee, or don't let your knee go above your foot, or like all these things that you don't know.
Yeah.
So that was really great for me.
So I'm gonna shift gears here. So you now have a son who's getting ready, who's getting recruited and is going off to play college baseball, hopefully pitching the state championship here soon. And then you got another one coming along who's a stud athlete. As your mind has shifted from athlete to now coach, mentor, dad, like when you're thinking about all these parents out here, because we get to talk to a lot of parents and see a lot of parents. How does your mind shift? Like, hey, it's completely different because you're not doing it now. You're coaching it and you're having to watch.
It's different. And that's why I retired. Like, I'd missed so much of my kids' lives that even though I could still play crap, I turned down my extension just to come home and be a dad, because I felt like God was saying, man, it's time for you to be a dad and a husband.
Yeah.
Full time. To Ann, who's Will's sister. And when I came home, I think what would be more beneficial is for me to share some of my mistakes.
Yeah.
Like, some of my mistakes I made probably when I was inserting myself into the athletic development of my kids was I probably overcompensated for not being around for most of their lives. So I was full in, hands-on, like, interrupting their practices, like saying, and one thing about me was, like, if I'm going to a baseball practice and I'm watching a rec league baseball game, like, it hurts me to my core to watch them like practice something the wrong way, or like train a fundamental like the wrong way.
Right.
And it's hard for me to sit on my hands with that, right? Like, so I think some of the mistakes I made early that I had to really repent of and apologize for, which I think is really important for Eli, was, and he was kind of the first one that I was really on top of, because that's the timing of when I retired, was that I tried to, he didn't have a voice.
Yeah.
He didn't have a voice in it. That's the easiest way to say it. Like, I was pretty domineering about, hey man, if you want to be good, like, this is the way you got to do it.
Right.
Now, I sit here and talk to you about how there's no cookie cutter thing and this and that. So I was not practicing what I'm preaching, but it was a mistake. And so I think early on, and thankfully, I was self-aware enough, and he got angry enough that he eventually had a voice, and I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Like, this is his journey, not my journey, right? Like, even though I want him to get the best out of who he was created to be as an athlete, like, he needs to enjoy what he's doing or he'll never get there. One of the best memories I ever had is as a kid playing sports in high school was like, I didn't have parents around yelling at me. I had the freedom to, like, if I wanted to drop down and throw one sidearm, I'd do it. Or if I wanted to run out of the pocket and throw one like here or do that, like, I didn't have people lording over me saying, hey man, this is the way you got to do it. If you don't do it this way, you're not going to make it.
Yeah.
Right. And so the more freedom and voice I gave him with, certain boundaries, of course, the more he started to thrive. And I figured that out after about 3 years of really getting it wrong.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
That's good.
I think, for instance, we have a rule. I have a rule. Once the game is over, and I'm his travel ball coach, so we were going around and we're playing good competition, and I'm watching him pitch, and I'm calling every pitch, like I'm trying to help him, and he wants me to do that. But once we get in the car after a game, I don't talk about baseball at all, no matter how bad or good the game went, unless he brings it up.
Right.
So if he brings it up
He wants
and
to-
invites me into that space, great. We have a great conversation 95% of the time. When I bring something up, we have a horrible conversation 95% of the time.
That's good.
So that was just a rule that I thought worked for my family, and it works for Van too. So my youngest, Van, is a real fast kid and loves football and track, hates baseball, which I'm ready for one of my kids to hate baseball. I actually love it that he doesn't like it. I'm over it too, kind of.
Yeah.
So it's great that I have made a lot of mistakes with Eli that I can now implement with Van. And so Van and I have a pretty rich relationship when it comes to sports. He plays a lot freer than Eli did because of that for me. I don't know if that makes sense, but he's doing good too.
What do you do now? As you're trying to stay in shape as a dad and a baseball coach and taking care of your farm and all those things.
Yeah. Well, I'm 50 now, so you got to work a little bit harder at it, as you know. Things start slowing down, and I will say, like supplementation is important.
Yeah.
Like I take supplements that are good, not all natural stuff, but I think that's been real beneficial for me.
Any one thing that you would recommend?
I take creatine, and I think it's great to keep taking it.
They've all these studies now about brain health and everything else.
And I just, I take 10 grams, a day, and I feel like that's been real helpful to keep protein on me and muscle mass and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, I still do a lot of the same stuff I did as a player. Like I never really quit, because I thought it's much harder to quit and then try to pick it up 5 years later when you get motivated and you're out of shape and all that stuff than just to keep going.
Right.
And so I just kept going. And I also had young kids like you. So you want to be able to play catch with your kids. And so I'll still long toss with Eli. He'll stretch it back to, 250 feet. We'll throw the football field. Like we'll do all things like that. I didn't want to never not be able to do that. So I kept in shape just by doing the same stuff I did as a player when I retired. My last year was 17 with Atlanta. And I was doing the same thing I did, 8 years before that. And I'm still doing the same thing now. And so that has been a good, and I also have a 40-acre farm. The springs are always hard, so I'm weed eating, with a bunch of weight and driving and fixing fences, and so landscaping does keep me in shape, like doing all that stuff. And 40 acres is a lot to keep up with, so we do a lot of that stuff. And I will say, I also play basketball 3 mornings a week. So at 5:30 a.m.
You got a serious game.
Yeah, serious game going.
What's the game?
It's basically 5-on-5 from 5:30 to 7, and we play to 150 points full court. And a lot of times we'll get 12 players, so there's one sub every decade. So like I get to a competitive outlet, and also I get to run around cardiovascularly and change directions and
you got some studs that play in that.
Yeah, my
Who
old college
plays in
players.
that game?
Drew Maddox plays, and Freegee plays some when his ankle lets him, and Ronnie McMahon from Vanderbilt for a long time played.
Andy studs.
Craig Bradshaw, who played pro ball. Like we got a lot of good players, old college players that come back, and then we have mixed in old men like me that still think they can do it, and can do it just enough to not get kicked out of the game. Like that's my only thing now is like, how can I do enough to not get kicked out? Like I want to be good enough so I don't get kicked out of the game. But it keeps me in great shape.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And so we don't do turkey bowl much anymore, but we do still do it. RA doesn't come back because of this story. we play a family turkey ball every year. You want to tell the story? You got to tell the story.
I would
I want
love
to hear it from your perspective. I'll correct you.
Okay, yeah, you can chime in. But I will say I don't play anymore, and it's not really, I'm not the driving force behind that. It's your sister. Because the last turkey ball I ever played was at NBA, and it always goes too far, right? Like it always goes one, and I try to keep it as calm as we can because we're a bunch of old men reliving glory days, but we want to win.
Yeah,
right?
we want to win.
Everybody wants to win, and we're serious about it. And so, there was a one-on-one, I was was I defending?
I think you were on
I
offense.
was on offense, okay. So I was on offense, and
Overtime. It was overtime.
it was overtime. No, I was on defense because I played quarterback.
That's right.
So I had to be on defense. And I was guarding you
Yeah,
somehow.
Yeah.
And I shipped over to him on like an out route or something, and we both go up for the ball, and I come down missing 2 teeth. That's all I remember. And so I've got teeth in my hand, and I look up at Will, and he looks at me like, what just happened?
It was like, how did you lose
But
teeth?
I will say, I took those teeth, and I went like this.
Well, and I said, hey, you want to keep playing?
And we kept going. And so we finished the game out. We went to overtime. I don't even know who won. Your sister, I came home and I had I had missing 2 teeth, and I looked at her and I said, hey, Hunt, your brother. This is just your brother. I'm sorry. She said, you will never play that game again. You will never play in that turkey bowl again. So that was that.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Awesome. Yeah, man. Hey, thank you so much for coming out, sharing some pearls of wisdom and talking about training and all things your career. Really appreciate everything you've done, not just for me, but for D1 and for the athletes, especially in Middle Tennessee. I know I talk to so many athletes around here, and they're just like, man, I ran into RA. And so
I love being here. It's great.
Man.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Hey, thanks so much. We'll see you next time on the turf.